Hello, welcome to the EPG Pathshala program in Linguistics. I am Pramod Pandey, Center for Linguistics, Jawaharlal Nehru University. In the present module, we'll talk about the autosegmental phonological analysis of lexical tone. In the previous module, we discussed some of these general properties of phonological representation on a multilinear scale and saw how autosegmental phonology could be applied to various processes, phenomena that shared some of these properties of, let's say, tone. So the phenomenon as such is given a general name called autosegmentalism. Now, in the present module, we will take a close look at how the autosegmental phonology addresses the issue of describing tonal phenomena. The study of tonal phenomena was extremely limited until the rise of autosegmental phonology. They were mostly treated as phenomena that could be described in terms of features such as plus high, plus low, minus low, etc. And that was it. Given a vowel with a tone, all that was needed to explain as to what tone was and how tones changed, you only talked about these features. Now, autosegmental phonology, however, showed that there are some features and phenomena that are unique to autosegmental phenomena. And thus, they cannot be, the autosegmental phenomena such as tone cannot be described in the same way as segmental phenomena. Now, there are some processes which as tonal phenomena share with segmental phenomena. So there is some kind of a similarity as to, although two different phenomena, but having properties common as phonological phenomena. One of them is phonological alternation, as we saw that a morpheme can have alternate shapes, alternate forms, such as the plural morpheme can be za, sa, or is. A word such as divide can have the allomorph divish in division, or divise in divisibility. So divish, divise, divide, all these are alternating shapes. And the phonemes that alternate are da and ja and ja and za, etc. Now, when we look at tones, tones also show alternation. That's very interesting. That is, the same tone may have a different realization in a morpheme. So tonal alternation is something that has a common property with segmental alternation. Take a look at the representation of tones in the language Mende on the screen. In the word mba, rice, we have a rising tone, LH tone, but when it occurs with the word hu, so we have only the low tone remaining at mba, and the high tone shifts to hu. So there is an alternation here of the lexical tone in these two words here. From LH, we only have L in mba. Another feature that tone shares with segmental phonology is coarticulatory constraints. Just as segments have coarticulatory constraints, recall that these constraints on segments are things like, let's say, two vowels cannot co-occur. There are many languages where two vowels cannot occur together. So when this happens, then one of them may be dropped, either the following or the preceding, or that both may change to a third vowel, like a and e may become a, etc. Now, these are co-articulatory constraints, preventing the co-occurrence of segments. Just like segmental co-articulatory constraints, we also have the autosegmental constraints on tones. So tones also have constraints in terms of which tone may co-occur with which tone in some languages. Please always remember that, that it is not the case that all the phenomena, let's say, of tone that are found to occur in a language must be found to occur in another language. But the job of phonological theory is, the goal of a phonological theory is to be able to account for all general phenomena that are found, perhaps even in a single language. Now, the co-occurrence constraint may not be found in many languages, but it is found in some languages. Take a look at the co-articulatory phenomena in Margi on the screen. So in the words you reach and you take, we have different tones on the prefix and the inside, the inner stem, like ku, because tones must alternate, so you can't have high tone occurring. So if you have a high tone, then the adjacent tone must be low. If you have a low tone, then adjacent tone must be high. This is a kind of co-occurrence constraint found in tonal languages, in tones. But apart from this, the study of tones has shown that tones have many features which are common to tones themselves. Some of these features are listed from Moira Yip. Take a look at them on the screen. Mobility, stability, one to many, many to one, toneless segments. So tones may show mobility, that means movement away from the point of origin. Stability, that is survival after loss of original host segment. So a vowel, for example, may get lost, but the tone stays. One to many, a single tonal feature may be shared by two or more segments. Many to one, multiple tonal features may surface on a single host segment. Toneless segments, potentially tone-bearing segments that never acquire phonological tone. Let's take a look at these characteristics of tones with the help of examples. To begin with, mobility. What we find is that there are languages where a certain tone may shift from one place to another. For example, it's the same like a stress shift in English. For example, given a word such as nation, then you have nationality, national, nationality. Similarly, photo, photograph, photograph, photographer, photographic, and so on. So the primary stress is shifting in these words as new affixes are added to them. In some languages, a similar may be the case. For example, in the language on the screen, we have words such as lombes, which has penultimate stress from the right, but as it takes affixes, we find that what remains consistently there in all these utterances is a penultimate stress. So lombes has penultimate stress, but when we have a prefix and a suffix like ku and a added before and after, or sequence like ku and es a, or ku and es n a, the stress keeps shifting to the whichever syllable is the penultimate syllable. Now, this can be easily explained in terms of spreading. So that means that there is the tonal tier. In this case, it has the tone H, that is high tone, and then we have the segmental sequences, and the H is consistently being associated with the penultimate syllable as shown on the screen. The second feature is stability. In an African language, Etsako, spoken in Nigeria, there is a co-occurrence restriction on vowels. Two vowels do not occur together. Now, within a single morpheme, you never find two vowels in Etsako. But when we have a compound word, let's say the word ends in a vowel and the other word begins with a vowel, then you have a situation where you have two vowels. What happens there? In Etsako, we have one of the vowels which is deleted. So let's take a look at how it is shown here. Now, when a vowel is deleted, as you will notice, like owa, oa, 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 the vowel that is the final vowel of the first stem is deleted. However, the tonal segment remains unaffected. As a result, the middle vowel comes to have a rising tone compared to a high tone earlier. So that's how something like owowa is heard. Now, this phenomenon needs explanation, and there is nothing better than the autosegmental phonological explanation of the phenomenon of stability. The third feature that we notice among tones is one-to-many. So you have a single tone, let's say an H tone or an L tone, which can be associated to multiple tones. Sometimes the tone may be in the root and there may be no tone in a suffix or a prefix. Then the tone of the root is associated with, spreads on to the tones of the adjacent syllables, as we find in these languages on the screen. Just as we have one-to-many association, we also have many-to-one association. That's how we have contour segments. So when we have one-to-one association, we get registered tones such as L, low, H, high, etc. But a single vowel may come to have more than one tone on it. That's how the contour tones emerge. So you may have LH going for a rising tone, A, or a falling tone, A, etc., which are explained in terms of there being two elements at the tonal tier and a single host element, a vowel, let us say. So thus we have seen that tones alone are such which permit both these association types, such as one-to-many and many-to-one. Toneless vowels. It is not the case that in tonal languages, all the syllables must have tone, must bear tone. There may be certain types of morphological elements that may not have any tones at all, as you can look at the examples on the screen where the suffix does not have any tone on it, so it contains a vowel without a tone. Floating tone, a very interesting phenomenon that has come to be found among tonal languages, is a floating tone. A floating tone is a tone which doesn't seem to have any vowel to which it is associated, but its presence is felt on a neighboring vowel, on a neighboring tone, as in the examples on the screen. In Mixtec, you see that the final syllable doesn't have any tone of its own, but it affects the syllables on the left-hand side. Notation. Now let's take a look at notation in autosegmental phonology. We have had a quick look at notation in the previous module. Let's look at them again as they are shown on the screen. So we have solid line, broken line, crossed solid line, and circle. These are the four elements that have independent notation. A solid line denotes a lexically given association between autosegments that is already in the underlying form. A broken line denotes association between autosegments by derivation. A crossed solid line denotes dissociation between autosegments, something that existed and is no more there. And then there's a circle around a symbol which indicates that that symbol has been deleted. So when a certain, let's say, a syllable or a vowel has been deleted, then we have a circle on it. Let's take a look at some of the examples illustrating the various notation types. These various notation types are also illustrated in the process of contraction in Hausa. There is the issue of tone-bearing units in languages. We wonder as to what element in the phonological representation relating to segments bears the tone. Is it a single vowel? Could it be a consonant in some languages? Could it be a syllable? Could it be a mora? What exactly is the nature of the segment that bears tone, or that is the tone-bearing unit? Now, the best answer to that question is it all depends on the nature of tone as it is working itself out in a certain language. For example, in a language in which every syllable must have a tone, then the tone-bearing unit is a syllable, because it is the number of syllables that decides how many tones the language has. Sometimes it is the moraic weight of, let us say, a vowel or a syllable that decides crucially as to what the tones are going to be. So let us say if there is a long vowel or there is a diphthong, R and E, single vowel but having two morae, then one of the vowels, one of these vowels of a diphthong, that is part of the diphthong, has one tone, let's say H, and another has another tone, let's say L, giving rise to a falling tone. In that case, then the relevant unit as a tone-bearing unit is a mora, not really a syllable. Sometimes the presence of consonants in some languages may have a bearing on the realization of tones. For example, we are told in Meitei, if a certain, with stops, for example, give rise to a certain type of tone. So the tone-bearing units may vary from one language to another. However, all these tonal phenomena, tonal systems, tonal representations are subject to a set of well-formedness conditions. No matter what the tone-bearing unit is, no matter what the process, autosegmental process is at work in realizing tones, on the surface, the processes and the representations on which they work must meet the following conditions as shown on the screen. There are four of these mentioned there. All vowels or tone-bearing units are associated with at least one tone. All tones are associated with at least one vowel. Association precedes one-to-one, left to right. association lines may not cross. Thus, we have some examples illustrating these constraints. For example, it is not possible for us to have three segments and two tones, the middle segment having one tone, and the beginning and the ending segments having one tone. This way of representing violates the fourth well-formedness condition, namely association lines may not cross. Now, some of these tones are well-formedness conditions are also represented in the diagrams given on the screen. Now, the obligatory contour principle. No matter what processes and well-formedness conditions, there is at least one general principle that all phenomena, processes, representations must adhere to in autosegmental phonology. It's been given the name obligatory contour principle, a somewhat difficult or a complex name whose significance is not clear from the term itself. It was given by William Levin. What the term says is that identical tones cannot co-occur. So let's say if you have two vowels having high tone, the representation should not be that at the tonal level you have H and H. You have a single tone there, namely H, which is found to be commonly associated in a one-to-many fashion to the two vowels. Now, obligatory contour principle, interestingly, can be extended or has been extended to also cover some other kinds of co-occurrence restrictions in languages. There are languages which do not allow a certain feature, let us say a distinctive feature, to co-occur. For example, if two segments are voiceless, then one of them must be voiced. So this is dissimilation. It may be at work in some language. If that is the case, then there are certain changes which take place. Then one of these segments may be deleted, or another segment, a vowel may be inserted, etc. And or one of them may change its position. The obligatory contour principle now is extended to cover not only prosodic phenomena such as tone, but also other segmental phenomena which seem to be at work on the co-occurrence restrictions of segments. Because the obligatory contour principle doesn't seem to be always at work or on the segmental level in each language, it is reasonable to say that the obligatory contour principle is a markedness principle, not a universal principle of grammar. What is meant by this is that it is a principle which is commonly found amongst languages, but which may not be attested in some languages. The notion of markedness principle versus universal principle is necessary in linguistic theory in order to be able to talk about generalizations which are inviolable and generalizations which are commonly found, statistically important and significant, but which are not obligatory for languages to observe. So now we have today, in this module, we have looked at the various aspects of tone. We began with saying how tones actually can share some of the properties with segments, such as alternation, for example, and how the tones come to have their own unique properties. We looked at each of them, such as mobility, stability, one-to-many, many-to-one, etc. And with the help of examples. We also came to look at certain principles which are at work. These principles are principles such as well-formedness conditions, as well as some general universal principles such as obligatory, contour principle. The latter has been extended to apply to segmental phonology as well. So to emphasize the point, autosegmental phonology is a theoretical framework that has been successfully applied to prosodic phenomena, but also to a lot of segmental phenomena. This speaks for the significance of autosegmental phonology as a universal subtheory of phonology. Thank you.